Hey everybody, Brian Von Via here. Got a question for you. What big reveal are you excited to tell your D&D players? Let us know in the comments below. Shh, I promise, we won't tell. Beginning of the campaign was just after a catastrophic event. One of the moons was destroyed and a piece of it sank the island the players are from. They were plucked from certain death by an agent of one of the gods. Each of them has a unique item that grows in power when they do, gains a new ability every 3 levels they get. As they were told by the agent, they are not special and are free to do what they want. They are just a stone she tossed on a whim, skipping across the river of chance to see if it'll reach the other side. They know the gods have 2 other groups that were chosen to discover the secret of the moon's destruction. What they don't know is the items will draw them back in time to a temple on the destroyed moon, where their choices will either see it destroyed or saved. They just have to reach the appropriate level, which is 18. The beatings will continue until morale improves. You guys suck at combat efficiency, and we are spending 2 to 3 hours on what should be 20 to 30 minutes tops of combat. Mostly because you guys spend 20 minutes each looking through the books to double check what your abilities are, even though I told you already to make flashcards of your spells and abilities. So, the combat is going to be heavy until you either learn to listen or memorize your spells. The subrace of humans in my world is called Lythain. Humans are a dying breed. There's maybe 1 in 10,000 Lythain, less than that. 8,000 years ago, dragons ruled the world. They created many new races. They wanted a race that would be better than human. They made the Lythain. They were a slave race made to serve. Eventually, they rebelled after 4,000 years of servitude. The leaders of the rebellion became the gods of the world, since the dragons ruled as gods. My players went into a room with 3 suspicious levers. After some drama, the barbarian just pulled one. What appeared was a normal houseplant. A sweet girl in the group took it as a pet. It has never left her side, but if it does, it will scream bloody murder. The worst separation anxiety? From a ficus. It's funny because she loves that plant, and it will be great the one time she has to set it down. It's not an in-game thing, but it has to do with a player, and it's an out-of-game topic. Oh boy. If I could, I would say that they are the type of player that I want to have in every one of my games. That I enjoy every single one of their characters, their ideas, and the effort they put into their backstories. Finally, I would tell them that I would love for them to be my D&D buddy in future games, meaning that I would want to be a player in games and hang out with their characters. Now, do bear in mind that I know very little about this person besides D&D interactions, and that this is just me, as an adult, seeing what I think is a very cool person, and thinking, I want to be friends with that person, and nothing else. Sadly, we no longer play together. Schedules and planning killed the games. And it also sounds a bit weird. No, it doesn't. You want to make a friend. Go make a friend. When I established the world I made for a previous group of players, I based 3 of the gods on me and my 2 brothers, inspired by our mannerisms. They are also the gods of the main aspects that define the 3 of us, and are even called the 3 brothers. New campaign, with new players, but the same world. One of my brothers is now one of my players, but he doesn't know about the inspiration for the god. They are on their way to the temple of the 3 brothers, and I'm dying to see if it can work out. Also, the previous party are coming back as NPCs, but as the champions of the gods. 500 years ago, Bahamut was driven into a rage at the senseless killing of his newly hatched children, fulfilling a curse that allowed a fledgling god, one who stole divinity with the goal to end death itself to save his own daughter, to take over Bahamut's body and go on a rampage, ravaging the titular campaign location that was then sealed away. The big bad is the consequence of a dragon god of justice facing a fate for which true justice felt impossible. Also, the fledgling god's stolen divinity happens to be stolen from the Raven Queen, and is the event that banished her to the Shadow Realm, which is particularly relevant as the Raven Queen is a patron to the party's warlock. This tale may never come out, as a breakup amongst the players currently threatens the future of the table. The world thinks dragons are extinct after a major war. They think the bad guy is trying to resurrect dragons, when in reality, dragons just never went extinct. They also think that the bad guy is the Dark Conqueror mentioned in a prophecy, but he's not. He's trying to stop the Dark Conqueror. The Dark Conqueror is a being of pure darkness that, if not stopped, will consume everything. This entity is not fully alive or fully sentient. It's more of an unrelenting force that cannot be fought. And the cleric has been having nightmares of darkness consuming everything, and he somehow hasn't put 2 and 2 together yet. One of my players is playing a warlock with an unknown patron. He decided to let me decide everything about the patron, who, so far, only communicates through a cryptic tome. This player and I also bonded over the game The Stanley Parable. The player's patron is the bucket from Stanley Parable. If you know, you know. Google it. I'm just going to throw a Balor in as a second part of an invasion they're currently fighting at the front gates of. It's going to be a great scene where they have to trust their allies to defend the gate for them and double back to the center of town just to see one of their NPC allies getting killed in that exact moment. And then they'll have to fight it, quickly realizing that it's the transformed and tortured soul of their PC adventuring partner that died earlier on in the campaign. I've set this campaign as a little playground where I'm pretty much winging everything, but they are trying so hard to railroad themselves that I'm now pretending there's an overarching plot, and I have nothing of the sort planned. They've told me at the end of the last 2 sessions that they love the direction it's going, and I'm doing a great job, and can feel how well-crafted the story is, while in my head I'm going, y'all are the ones making the story. I'm just agreeing with you when you make a connection. It's been revealed at this point, but I gotta mention it. One of my players was the reincarnation of a major paranoid antagonist. And everything they encountered of that antagonist were security measures put in place before the reincarnation to either convince them to join them or to kill the player so the soul can be united again. The funniest part was, though, when the antagonist was first named, one player called it as a joke because the player itself, who had no idea, was always so mysterious about his past. So, it became a meme for about 4 years before it got confirmed in one of the most hype sessions I ever had the honor to lead. The backstories of the NPCs they are traveling with. One is just flavor. I wrote the grumpy old dwarf that is with them a 15-page backstory. I know, way too much, but it caught my interest, so I kept writing. The other is a parrot that is going to give them their quest once they finish Tyranny of Dragons. It needs the heart blood of Tiamat, and a few other things to break the curse on his wife. Playing through Tyranny of Dragons. Wizard PC has the backstory of coming from a family of sorcerers, but he didn't get the power. The leader of the dragon cult is his dad, who wants to give the wizard his birthright. The other wizard is the reincarnation of the next Thayan Zulkir of Necromancy, who tried to defeat Saz Tam but botched the lichdom ritual. This time, his mentor is a lich that went crazy named Samaster. Also, during the next quest, they will get an urgent sending to go to a specific place. If they go immediately, they will stop a monster from wiping out a town, but the current quest will be changed. If they finish the current quest, then all that will be left of the town will be in a fortified building as the monster waits to infect them with a curse. My current campaign involves a mid-19th century tech level where magic is coming back after 2,000 years of being gone. The PCs are some of the first mages in Albion, a kingdom not too surprisingly based largely on Victorian Britain. The main rival country is Westeros, a Russian stand-in where the Russian Revolution equivalent happened much earlier than in real life and is now ruled by the dictator Strynikov. Bonus points to anyone who recognizes where I stole that name from. The PCs have already been somewhat involved in the government of Albion, both helping and not always doing what the government wants. But in about a year, they are going to be asked to help get a defector from Westeros over to Albion. The government doesn't know who the defector is, just that they have a lot of connections. It's going to turn out to be Stylenkov's daughter, which is going to have all sorts of fun complications. I originally thought of this as just Steampunk Tom Clancy, but after mentioning that to my spouse, she came up with the much better title, Tinker Tailor Soldier Mage. Oh my god! The main camp setting is literally just Westeros, flipped 180 degrees, and the hammer of the waters shattered all of Dorne. Not just the land bridge that became the Stepstones. A few other weather and tectonic shenanigans have occurred, creating minor tweaks to the geography. The riverlands are more of a delta of marshes due to heavier floods. The Vale of the Three Sisters Vale of Arryn extends further south, with mountains ranging as far down as the coast, or rather up the coast, as the Duxendale settlement. The Wall is actually just the Grand Canyon, etc. I've made dozens of references to places: the City of the High Tower, the 5 forts of the Jade Empire, the Shrinking Sea, Lake God's Vision, etc. And none of my massive ASOIF nerd players have gotten the memo. They're too busy trying to stop the encroaching civil war from erupting into a certain war, the likes of which we saw in, 1917. Trenches, chemical weapons, all that lovely stuff. Just with catapults and scorpions, magic and medieval armor in place of rifles, handguns, and Maxim guns. Just less firepower, but more CQC. If the fight breaks out, at least. The gods all used to be people. Part of a superior precursor race that destroyed itself and reshaped the universe through a magical arms race that saw a small handful of them ascend to godhood. The current state of the universe is essentially a series of games of Risk that the gods are playing against each other. Each planet is its own game. And so sometimes a god of a particular domain, one of them is a death water god for instance, will change their tactics up, utilizing different tenets and or being more or less benevolent. The gods can't smite specific people, or act subtly themselves, just like you couldn't choose to kill a single member of a unit in Risk. So instead, they act through their followers, whispering orders to them, because the other gods at the table could hear if they demanded all of their clergy to do a specific thing. On the planet my campaign is centered on, it's resulted in a 1,000-year Cold War that has spanned countless kingdoms and generations. Now, the biggest piece of this puzzle is that all of my PCs have stumbled into becoming very important pawns in the gods' game, but they're each being influenced by different factions with inherently competing gods, though none of them are aware of this. The players are all descended from interdimensional invaders who enslaved almost the entire planet before falling into a civil war after failing to contain a contagion that took out their empire. Kind of reminds me of Halo at this point. They sealed almost all of this world's gods into essentially a big battery to power a force field to try to keep the contagion from getting through. Do note, they were too late. The plans of all of the major factions, good or bad, will result in either the fast or slow death of the entire world. And I have purposefully not planned any options that will save everyone, because I want them to either surprise me and truly earn their happy ending. Or, I assume, just straight up die, am I right? The party is trying to get intel on the monster that has infested one of the PC's hometowns and has tracked down the resting place of the last person to confront it. Someone who, after reaching their hometown, couldn't keep living with the PTSD. The party is fairly neutral, though, so they'll be doing a light speak with dead. So, here's the twist. The guy who died was actually attempting an ascension ritual, which was left incomplete. If the party casts Speak with Dead, he'll ask the crew to bury him with an amulet, completing the ritual and unleashing a homicidal lich onto the world. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below what big reveal are you excited to tell your D&D players. We promise we won't tell. And of course, if you want to support the channel, keep the lights and AC running this summer, make sure to join our membership program. You get early access to videos and our eternal gratitude. We love you all. Please be safe out there, stay happy, and we'll see you next time. Toodaloo.